start from the outline, right? And like see, some of you might have drawn like, like this way. And next one. Some of like say, might have drawn this way. And there could be a third category also. Like I think we'll skip that at the time. Third. Yeah, third one is good. So maybe like say, one of you do it. We'll get back to that later. And we okay. Okay. I think like I just said. Can you show that also, the third one? Yeah, the third, and this is also a possibility. Okay, which not like I don't think many people have done it here, but like okay, just take a small. I mean, thing. How many of you that like previous to previous slide? Yeah, how many of you like say thought of this in your mind? Only a few. I thought like correct me if I'm wrong. Like from what I know, majority of you must have done this. Do you agree with this? Yeah. Can you go to the next one? And Dr. Buxin, did you think of this one? Yeah. Okay. You see, like there's another person here who has done it like differently, and I don't know. Maybe Anna also has. Yes. Thank you. Okay. That's nice. Okay, I'll come to that. And I don't know the people here. Yeah, who would have done it otherwise. Okay, they're like, Dr. Buxin is fine. He has done it and like, this is what, I expected. And then like, I also like, it's very nice. Like, can you go to the third one? Anna, has done this. And this is what, she imagined. Why does it happen? Do you know, like, this is related to reading and writing? This is unconsciously, like, say, controlled by or, influenced by what you like, and how do you write or how do you read? What is the direction? All of you like in Basha or Balinese or whatever like you use, and like it's like left to right? And all those people like who write, like use that kind of writing system, like will think of the first picture. I mean, that's what spontaneously come to your mind. I mean, like I mean, did you do what did you think? This I agree because like yeah, thanks. Yeah, you also like have a background, like to do this. I mean, Dr. Koresha also like has done this. And what about Daniel? Pardon? First one? This one? Oh, great. I don't know why. I will see. Yeah. Okay. So those, like, but there are writing systems. Like a language is one thing, but in similar to Orphean hypothesis, even there is something called, like, which is not very prominent, but like, which is called, script relativity. That's called, linguistic relativity. This is called script relativity, which really like matters a lot. How imagine? I mean, it's not only influences your language because it's a language thing, right? We can encode the language in writing, but like it goes beyond that. In fact, it influences your perception, influence your thinking, influence how do you do the things, particular things. For example, drawing, which is nothing to do, it's not writing, but like the task, what example I showed, I mean, was drawing. I mean, was drawing, which is not right. I mean, nothing to do otherwise in like writing. Relate. I mean, linguistic. So non-linguistic influence too. And also, yeah. So, like, okay, just, like in a nutshell, because of the time again, like say those, who do like other way around, for example, right to left, Arabic, Urdu, and, Hebrew. There are many, like say languages, which have the different direction, of writing, right to left. There, like say I mean, you find, they do it other way around, like books in Chinese. Yeah. Okay. So this one is very interesting. This is what I'll come at the end. These are the things what happens many times, like with Anna or with the Croatia. Like they think, like this is what, I mean, this is what it comes to mind. They may have, some kind of conflict in between, which way, this way, or then, decide on the third one. Okay. I'll come to that later. This is like say something. Yeah. Yeah. Similar. Can you go to the next one? Next one. Yeah. So direction, like say what I in the title, I put the sorry, in the previous. Okay, I can do it, right? Sorry, I forgot. Sorry. Thanks for giving the this. Yeah. Directional scanning effect, like you see in the title, that refers to the directionality bias in scanning the world, scanning visual world. And people exhibit bias in favor of particular directionality while scanning a two-dimensional visual stimulus environment, leftward, rightward, upward, or downward. Japanese also is a good example for that. One of the important factors behind this phenomenon is, okay, this is what, like I think, it's a cultural cognitive practice of literacy that script directionality one is trained in. This is the factor. Okay, which is, like script means, it's a cultural thing, cultural cognitive practice of literacy. The large number of studies, like say, have studied, like a DSC. We also have done some studies. So I'm just, briefly presenting, two studies. Like for example, here we had, picture naming task and then recall by, like say, Urdu speakers. Urdu is like one of the Indian languages, which has, like again, very interesting language, which has got, which belongs to Indo-European group, but then, the writing, like is from Arabic kind of thing, like the right to left, but the grammar and then the vocabulary is, like from Hindi, so it's, kind of amalgamation, actually. So anyway, like see here, like we had, like students, the children um, of first, second, I think, different grades. It's not very clear. Actually, I copied from the published thing. It's not very clear, but, like you can see the, yeah, we had naming task and recall task. And when, like say you show them, some material, one by one, not in like in any direction, then ask them, like say to recall, like which directionality, like it's actually had, that script, a directionality scanning direction effect, because like Urdu, like I think they always, like the last one, they start from the last one to the first one. And whereas the other control thing, like from the beginning to the first one to the last. And then in recall also, like it's the same. But you can see here, this is, sorry. Yeah, this is recall. Yeah, you can see that, like in the recall, that, you see the effect more, like in the sense it is, this is the proportion of recall. This is 0, and then, like it is, the proportion of recall will be 0.25, or then it's about 15%. This is 10%. Here, like you can see why I'm, pointing at the recall is, like the way we perceive, the way we organize the things in the mind, or, like is reflected by the recall, right? Like how do they recall, like it depends on how is it encoded. And that's exactly, I mean, that means, like it shapes our thinking or organizing. How do we organize the material? I think, like I'm just, I'll come. And this is, I think, more clear. Leftward directional preference in picture naming and recall. This is again like a very good, one of the nice studies we had, which is published already. The Arabic, like readers, there are, Arabic schools, like in India, where they are, trained to be priests, future priests, and they don't read or study anything else but, like Arabic all through. So they're really totally unexposed to any other kind of, like similar, I mean, kind of, and you can see the contrast here, like say with the Arabic readers, and Kannada is the local language, from where I come from, the state. And then we also had, like say, Urdu speaking illiterates. Urdu speaking illiterates, they're not exposed to any writing system. And you can see that, like this is what, like Kannada speakers, and who learn to read and sorry, left to right kind of thing. And then speakers, illiterate Urdu speakers, and they are, like you see like the performance here, like in the preference, for picture naming and recall. And you see like these are the Arabic ones, and like so different, like so different. I mean their thing, they always, do it in the right to left kind of thing, directional scanning effect. Okay. So I hope, yeah. So this is like, okay, we just, uh, I'll just, like do it in a very fast. I will not go into different other types of, like snark effect. It's very interesting studies about, like mentioning the, in fact, which suggests the same kind of effect. Where, like when we think of, like if you, with the left hand, if there is a small number, it's always, like we'll put it on the left. And then, like if it is a large number, like in the thing, we'd say like the people will do faster with the right hand side. Like that is how like number line, like mentally, is create. I mean, we construct the mental number line, like from left to right. Left means like lower numbers, and like right is larger numbers. That's a kind of, like thing. It's a very interesting studies, but like I'll skip on that. What we did, like I'll simply is actually prompted by another study. They observed that, like spatio-temporal cognition of native users of English, Mandarin, and Mandarin users in Taiwan. They had, like this kind of thing. They studied actually whether the directional scanning effect, reported in the literature is entirely due to one's literacy experience, or could that also result from other real life experiences? This is the kind of thing where we took the things forward, try to think, because not only the language, does it, like any other experience also can result in the same kind of, effect. So what we did was, like very simple, the experimental, we had, uh, all instructions were presented orally and in Persian. Okay, we had, okay, I think this group is important. Okay, participants were asked to arrange sets of 3 cards depicting a temporal sequence of, events, concepts in a sequence on a round tray. That is, diameter of the tray was just enough for placing the 3 cards. It's a round thing. It doesn't give the clue for any directionality. The researcher recorded, directionality of the sequenced cards arranged. All instructions were given. Like we had Persian participants, where Persians who are in India, like who are learning and who are, pretty, proficient in English. Like there's another group. Say Persian is the say Iranian group, Persian, and then like say Kannada, and also Persian, like as I mean, follows, like from right to left. The purpose was to examine whether participants from different populations arrange, differently. Okay, we had, like say, I told you already, 3 groups. And we also, the 4th group was adult Persian speakers who were not in India, but in Persia, and they know only Persian kind of thing. So we had, this kind of, 30, 31 kind of, participants, and 7 sets of cards were, given. Each picture card was round in shape with the, like say, all the measures. And then, like say, these are the things we use, the following 5 sets. Seed, plant, tree, there is a sequence, like say, I mean, a temporal kind of thing. First comes seed, then comes, plant, then tree, and egg, chicken, and so on. And in addition to that, we also had, like the last one, a calendar, I think, like say, we use, okay, I mean, I will just, I hope it's clear. When see, these are the set 1 material, set 2 material, set 3 material, which has got baby, and then, girl and adult one, set 4, and so on. There's a sequence. And this is what, like possible arrangements, like when they can arrange, it could be left to right, or right to left, or bottom to top, or, top to bottom. Okay. And then this is like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, one second. Okay. So see, these are the, like we had, some different sets also, like which are not very clear, about the, this is not the spatio-temporal kind of thing, but, like they can arrange it, like in a sequential order. So, and also we had, like these are the results. You can see here, so clearly, the first one, like right to left, like in different, like say this is the Iranian residing in India. They had, this is the percentage, right to left, right to left and left to right. Because, like they were also exposed to English kind of thing. They use, in India, they're very much, like use English. So they are, like, partially kind of thing you can see. And this is, the second one is, um, sorry, literate. Okay, these are like, I can't see this, unfortunately.
Mr. Prakash,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
I'll just, like, these are, I'll not get into the details, like say, but, like you can see really very clear effect. And we had, like, especially the last, give me 5 minutes, I'll finish in 5 minutes, okay? And so the last group, like the Persians, who are from Iran, who are in 5 minutes. Yeah, yeah, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Let me finish. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'll just. Yeah. Sorry, like because of the time, I like somehow whatever, I tried to. Yeah, could not finish. So I just want to, like the last thing I'll say. Script directionality, in which, like say one reads, like however overall results suggest that, like it has got an effect. And then, like I will just go through this. Okay. But, like, okay, the implications are just, this is the only thing I would say, like I think like in, these are all, like under the present globalization or intercultural contacts and self-identity, like, do they really matter? Are they related to what I thought? Like, this is something, like what we are, trying to see, because the multilingualism and polyculturalism, like the kind of aspects, how really are they affected by these kinds of, one's experience, and whether, like there is a kind of thing, and these are the, like say, a framework, like which really would help, to understand the whole phenomenon of, like say what we do, Vygotsky cultural historical framework, and evolutionary biology, which is the biological constraints, and also like epigenetics and neuroflexibility, that is in which says that, like say, how, we have, even the genes, like have, their expression depends on in the experience one is exposed to. And I think, like, yeah, this is a kind of thing, what I wanted to say, like lots of things, like say one can be invite, and I wanted to tell a few things about our department, like I have shared it here, and it's our largest department in the country. And then, like so we really conduct a lot of conferences. One of them, like I've shared, I think, with some of you, and like say you're welcome to participate. Thank you very much. Sorry, like.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prakash. I'm so sorry for the limited time, and hopefully we can discuss everything later, maybe informally. We still have today and tomorrow to discuss. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so for now we will have 5 to 10 minutes coffee break, and then we'll gather here again at 9:30. I'm so sorry for the information. Maybe thank you, Pak. Terima kasih. Maybe we can all stay here if some of you want to grab some snacks or coffee or tea, or we can give it, take it, and then take it back to the room. And we'll wait for around 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Nanti ya dok, setelah ini dari sana. Mas Andi nanti mau berdiri atau sambil duduk? Duduk ya. Duduk sana. Gimana nih? Tuh, ya, masnya dikunci dulu. Ya, biar tak bikin nanti lah. Itu sana. Kemudian kan mengenalkan para tamu. Mulai dari sana aja. Oh, dari sana. Oke, diurutin kamarnya ya. Berarti dari tahu udah ada kamar. Sudah pas untuk ya.
Nggak enak banget sih, jadi gimana ya? Jadi satu-satu kalau ada terganggu. Kalau nonton begitu aku nggak dari pondok.
Ya, kan tadi kan ini dari Bali. Kita bukan kawan kita lagi. Dokter Fakat.
Kasihan tapi belum selesai sama sekali, belum sampai ke bulan.
Oke.
Iya kan? Iya kan? Ini tadi nggak
Pakai ini. Kan nanti berurutan. Enggak nanti disuruh nanti dulu. Teman-teman, kalau kebetulan ikut via Zoom, itu soundnya dimatikan, kemudian apa namanya, speakernya juga bikin nol ya. Takutnya nanti bentrok dengan suara di sini. Jadi kalau kebetulan pakai Zoom, audionya semua dimatikan, kemudian volumenya nol. So the delegates of BRICS, if you are joining via Zoom, please shut off the audio. So no volumes and no mic. Yes. Sweden. Yeah. Yeah. No need actually, but you don't know. Yeah. Someone can also join via Zoom. So you don't need it. Actually, you don't need it. Yang di luar boleh masuk. Silakan Bapak Ibu ambil tempat duduk.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you all have time for coffee break, now it's time to gather again in this room.
Tes satu, suara sudah masuk? Halo, suara saya bisa didengar?
Sudah didengar, Prof.
Baik, makasih.
Pak Menteri,
Bisa
terima kasih, Pak Menteri. Ayo Mbak Caca.
Ini mungkin gambar sama suara beda ya? Saya ini ada masalah gangguan di sini. Nggak apa-apa ya?
Izin Pak Menteri, gambar Pak Menteri belum tampil nih.
Gambar belum keluar.
Siap.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. Good morning and welcome to the inaugural meetings of the BRICS Plus Psychological Union and International Mini Conference. It is a privilege to gather here today, where scholars, practitioners, and delegates from different nations join hands with one shared purpose: to strengthen the role of psychology in advancing human well-being, education, and collaboration across borders. This inaugural meeting is not only a beginning, but also a commitment to building bridges between cultures, promoting research, and creating meaningful impact for our societies. We are especially honored this morning by the presence of His Excellency, the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology of the Republic of Indonesia, Professor Brian Yuliarto. Professor, your dedication to science, education, and innovation inspires us, and we are deeply grateful for your support in this historic moment. Before we invite the minister to deliver his opening remarks, it is most fitting that we first hear from a figure who has been central to the growth and strength of psychology in Indonesia. It is my honor to invite the head of Indonesian Psychological Association, Bapak Andik, to kindly share his greetings with us. Bapak Andik, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Om Swastiastu. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, Professor Brian Yuliarto, M.Eng, Ph.D., who will giving opening remark to mini conference and inaugural meeting of BRICS Plus Psychology Union. This event is, I think, is great moment and great history of global organizational collaboration. The idea of BRICS Plus Psychology Union started from a meeting in Sochi, Russia, that held from 25 until 28 November 2024. During this meeting, delegates recognized the urgent need for collaboration within a union. So after that, all delegates agree to declare of the BRICS Plus Psychology Union on 30 November 2025. Now I will introduce each of delegates who attend in BRICS Plus meeting in Bali. First, Maicon Leoni Martin Teodoro from Brazil. Could you stand up? He is Associate Professor in Department of Psychology at the Federal University of Minas Gerais and President of the Brazilian Society of Psychology. And the second is Sanjay Kumar. He is Professor of Psychology at the University of Allahabad and Secretary General of National Academy of Psychology, Lahore in India. The third is Professor Han Buk-sin, yes, President of ASEAN Psychological Association and China Psychological Society, and Professor in the Institute of Psychology at Chinese Academy of Science. Thank you. Now is Leibina, Anna Leibina. You can stand up. She is Associate Professor of Psychology at Moscow State University and former Executive Council member of EFPA. So beside me is Rakas Padakanlaya. Could you stand? He is Professor of Psychology at Christ University, Bengaluru, India. Now, that's Prof. Z. Cooper. Yeah, he's very famous and legend in professional psychology. He is past president Pan African Psychology Union, former president IUCIS, SSA, extraordinary professor of the University of Pretoria and Stellenbosch University. So after that, Prof. Hendy Ginting is chairman of this meeting. And after that, yes, Daniel Den Hollander, could you stand up? Is clinical psychologist and former chair of PIPS division of SSA, South Africa. So after that, yes, Kuraiza Baik, can stand up. Is clinical psychologist and managing director of Psychological Care, South Africa. Furthermore, I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to each and everyone who attends in this meeting, all participants, and Dean of Faculty of Psychology in Indonesia, the chairperson and secretary of Ethical Board. Could you stand up? Yeah, Lenlo is secretary, and Dr. Zil, chairman of Ethical Board, and HIMPSI Bali Board and HIMPSI Central Boards and all HIMPSI members who attend in the Zoom. And for a closing word, I'll quote one of African proverbs. If you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, you can go together. So the proverb teaches that importance of collaboration and teamwork to achieve long-term goal. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi 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 Om.
Thank you very much, Bapak Andik, for your warm and meaningful greeting. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great honor to invite our distinguished guests of honor to deliver the official opening remarks. With the utmost respect, and I now invite Professor B.N. Yuliarto to deliver his opening address.
Okay, is it okay, my voice? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the Honorable Chairman of the Indonesian Psychological Association, Mr. Andik Matulesi, Vice Chairman of HIMPSI, Mr. Hendy Ginting, distinguished psychology leaders from various countries, all participants of the BRICS Plus Forum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan Rahayu. Today, we are able to gather at this very important forum, the inaugural meeting of the BRICS Plus Psy Union, held in Bali from August 21st to 24, 2025. Of course, we hope this moment will serve as a shared commitment to strengthen collaboration among nations in the field of psychology, from research to public policy. I extend my highest appreciation to HIMPSI for organizing this event and bringing together international psychologists from BRICS Plus countries. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia is currently on its path toward becoming an advanced industrial nation. The President has set forth Asta Cita, the 8 national development priorities, one of which is strengthening human resources and research as the key to sustain innovation-driven economic growth. This aligns with the vision of the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology, that is inclusive, adaptive, and impactful higher education, science and technology to transform the nation toward Golden Indonesia 2045. This vision is realized through three main focuses across three Directorate Generals inside of our ministry, including expanding access to quality of higher education, enhancing the capacity and productivity of research and development, and optimizing the ecosystem, cultures, and solution of science, technology, and innovations. These efforts are carried forward through the Dikti Saintek Berdampak, or impactful higher education, science, and technology, which continues at the university level through the Impactful Campus Initiative. Universities play a strategic role in driving the transformation of higher education to address the challenges of civilizations. A stronger research and innovation ecosystem is required, one capable of producing scientific breakthroughs, disruptive technologies, and real solutions for national development. Transformative higher education must also be supported by good governance and academic autonomy, enabling universities to act as true game changers in socio-ecological and economic transformations, while upholding academic integrity and a strong scientific culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia has enacted Law number 23 of 2022 on which psychology, education, and services, which specifically regulates the field of psychology, education, and services in our country. This law aims to enhance the quality of psychology, education, and services while providing legal protection and certainty for psychologists and society. Transformative higher education in psychology must adapt to the evolution of civilization, the digital transformation era, and Society 5.0. Education should support the improvement and equal distribution of psychological services across regions, strengthen promotive and preventive effort, and foster an innovation ecosystem in psychology, science, and technology tailored to societal needs. It's essential to strengthen centers of excellence in psychology, particularly through the development of learning models, research, digital technology, and artificial intelligence in psychology. In developing AI within psychology, a holistic and ethical approach is needed, carefully considering its impact on society. Esteemed college, the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology hopes that all stakeholders will continue to contribute critical thought and concrete solutions for improving the quality of psychology educations, research, and services while also ensuring effective checks and balances to government policies. In line with our mission of Dikti Saintek Berdampak, we must set aside sectoral egos to reflect upon the evaluate our education and psychological service system. We also hope this forum will highlight the vital role of professional and non-government psychology practitioners in advancing cross-national collaborations, especially in strategic areas such as mental health, industrial psychology, and human resource empowerment. Let us move forward together in orchestrating impactful collaboration for the benefit of our people and our nations. Together we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Brian Yuliarto, for your inspiring keynote address. Your words have set a strong foundation for our gathering today, reminding us of the vital role that education, science, technology, and psychology play in shaping societies and improving lives. We are truly grateful for your presence and guidance. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed directly to our scientific session. Our first presentation will begin delivered by Mrs. Aneta Audrey Prameswari, on the topic, the influence of self-compassion on anxiety in final year students in Jakarta. We encourage everyone to stay engaged as we continue with this important exchange of knowledge and insights. Mrs. Aneta, please come to the stage.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Aneta Audrey Prameswari, or you can call me Audrey. I'm an early childhood educator, and I am a I earned my bachelor degree in Universitas Tarumanegara in Jakarta. So, I will talk, but I will read because I don't want anyone get disturbed by my lack of English skill. So, maybe I will read a lot. Okay. So, as many of us know, completing a thesis or a final project is essential. It's a mandatory thing for final year student. It's not only in Jakarta, but also all around the world. But however, in reality, this process is often challenging. And one of the most common issues students face is anxiety. So today I am pleased to share with you of my research about the influence of self-compassion on anxiety in final year students in Jakarta. And I've collaborated with Mr. Monty Satyadharma and Mrs. Lindawati. They're psychologists based in Jakarta. Okay. As human beings, we naturally develop and grow, and part of that process involves advancing our education. For final year students, completing a final project or thesis is a crucial requirement for obtaining their degree. However, these symptoms of anxiety emerge as when the students are trying to do their thesis, are trying to completing their thesis, they will feel like, oh no, this is too much for me. Oh no, this is too depressing or too anxious for me. So it's not only because the pressure from the thesis itself, but living in Jakarta is also a pressure for them. It's because the undergraduate students face not only the demands of higher education itself, but also the pressure of living in a densely populated urban area with a relatively higher cost of living compared to non-urban regions. Okay. And anxiety itself is, so students are adversely affected by anxiety. For students, anxiety can significant negative effects, and it can contribute to procrastination, disrupt academic progress, and in extreme cases, even lead to suicidal. So sadly, several reports in Indonesia, news media have documented cases of students who took their own lives due to the overwhelming pressure of working on their thesis. So this is one of the news that I found recently in 2025. It's on June, it's quite new. One of a man jumped in from the bridge in Teluk Kandari, and this time probably because of the thesis. So they jumped. And I found several other news, and one of them can be rescued. Thank God. I think she can be rescued, but it's already jumped from the bridge. It's from another city in Indonesia. So there is a need for self-compassion. It's So there's a need for self-compassion. Self is different than self-pity. Of course, we can feel like this is too much for me, but we don't consider like everyone also dealing with the same thing. Everyone is dealing the same thesis, progress, and the same dissertation, and so on. So there's a need for self-compassion. There are three elements of self-compassion. The first one is self-kindness versus self-judgment, common humanity versus isolation, mindfulness versus over-identification. So the participants in this study consisted of 142 individuals, all of whom were final year undergraduate students working on their final project or thesis. They were enrolled in universities located within Jakarta area. We did not impose restriction participant selection based on gender, ethnicity, culture, race, region, ethics, or background. The instrument used to measure self-compassion is self-compassion scale, and for the anxiety is state and trait anxiety inventory. And the result, self-compassion has a positive effect on reducing anxiety levels among final year undergraduate students working on their final project or thesis. Here are some practical recommendations for the students that I think it's very important for us to tell all of the students, especially in final year, to gain their self. The first one is self-kindness. So students are encouraged to replace harsh self-criticism with supportive and understanding self-talk. Instead of saying, I cannot do this, they can say, I can do this. I will finish the thesis. So they will need to change all of the negative talk to positive affirmation for themselves. And they can do it in the morning or before they continue to do their thesis, or maybe like it's something like for this generation, they say it as a mantra, like a positive mantra to start the day. And then the second one is common humanity. Students may benefit from engaging in peer support groups and seeking inspiration from graduates. So they can talk to their friends, especially on the same batch that they're doing the same tasks like together, sharing their burden. So they're not feel alone, like they're not feeling like, oh, this is only me, it's only me. But they can have a peer support. Can you wait for a minute? Okay. So they can have a peer support groups and seeking inspiration from graduates from their senior to talk about how they cope with the stress during their thesis moment, something like that. Next is mindfulness. This is very important because some of the young adults usually forget to be mindful about things. So we can do guided meditations. There's a lot of applications here that offer guided meditations, including in YouTube. There's a lot of videos that we can share to our students for the guided meditations. And then maintaining a reflective journal to observe anxious thoughts objectively, and using grounding techniques such as deep breathing or sensory check-ins before study session. Last but not least, supportive routines. Structured study breaks, for example, 30 minutes of doing thesis, break, and then another 30 minutes, and then another break. And then ending each study day with a brief reflection on positive accomplishments. It's like, oh, today I already finished part, I already finished this one, so they can track. And then the last one, engaging in physical activities. Young adults nowadays, they're very eager to do yoga, Pilates, including one in, if I'm not mistaken, one of the facilities have in Universitas Tarumanegara right now is Pilates class. It's very important, so we can do physical activities and we still can learn in the same environment. This is for the faculty and for the lecturers. The first one is model self-compassion, provide constructive feedback that balance academic critique with encouragement, helping students to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as failures. and then normalize academic struggles, acknowledge openly that anxiety and setbacks are common during the thesis process, and shares example of previous students who successfully overcame similar difficulties. Integrate support programs, so university or faculty can have a workshop or seminar on stress management, anxiety, mindfulness, or self-compassion practice within academic support service to equip students with practical coping strategies. Last but not least, encourage balance and self-care. Remind students to maintain healthy routines, including regular breaks and realistic workload management, while fostering an environment that reduces stigma around mental health needs. And this is also important. This is a recommendation for parents. The first one, provide emotional encouragement, offer reassurance, and acknowledge that struggles during the thesis process are normal, helping students feel supported rather than isolated. And then normalize challenges, remind students that difficulties such as stress, frustration, and anxiety are part of the shared students' experience, not personal failures. And then promote healthy balance, encourage proper rest, balanced nutrition, physical activity, and realistic study routines to reduce stress and prevent burnout. Reduce unnecessary pressure. This is very important. Sometimes we tend to, you need to finish this on time, fast, but you don't know how the students may be like already feeling burned out. They need some rest. So we need to reduce unnecessary pressure. Focus on effort and progress instead of only emphasizing outcomes, thereby lowering the risk of self-criticism and perfectionistic tendencies. This is so important, especially for parents, as I'm an early childhood education, so it's quite different with the final year students. However, parents nowadays tend to push their child even from the beginning, even from early education. I work in a very academic school, so there's even like the toddler, 3 until 4, 2 until the 3 years old. The parents already push them to know A until Z, 1 until 30, not 20. While based on child development, I don't think that's necessary. It's just too much because in nursery, they already need to learn about addition, simple addition, like 1 until 2, 1 plus 2 equals blah, blah, blah. So I don't think it's important to just push the child from early beginning, and we tend to ignore ignore the importance to for the child development based on their age. So I think this is so important for parents, especially in final years, for the final year students' parents. And to close the presentation, this is one of the quote that I found, and it's very important not only for the final year student, also for all of us. Focus on the step in front of you, not the whole staircase. Because if you just focus on the whole staircase, you may stumble and fall down. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Audrey, for such an insightful and thought-provoking presentation. We will now open the floor for a brief question and answer session. If you have any questions or reflections you would like to share with our presenters, please feel free to raise your hand and we will invite you to speak. Okay. Is there anyone want to ask a question? Oh, okay.
Sorry. I forget that we use also the Zoom. As a psychologist, what can you do as an implication of your final result? Because you said that basically our parents in our country looks like more ambitious to have the achievement, to see the achievement of their children since they are very young, 1 until 3 years old. So what can you do in practical everyday living to maybe to prevent, or maybe they don't know something like that, and maybe you can do something for your profession. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So, I'm not a psychologist yet, so I will give maybe practical things from where I work as an early childhood educator, and I believe this is important not only for the early childhood parents but also for everyone. So I face a lot of parents who push me or to push another teacher to make sure that their child can do this and do that. However, it's not appropriate based on the development. So we give them something for them to read from the article, and it's quite hard to change the perspective from the parents, especially in Indonesia, because in here we believe that being number one is the is the best. So we try to encourage them to make them understand. Okay, based on this age, the level of academic is ABC. Now, for the final students, I think it's important for the final students to ask their parents to join a seminar or a workshop about mindfulness, or when they feel something, when they feel like this is already too much for me, I think it's important for the final student can talk to their parents and try to make them understand how we do. Like, for example, I did this with my mom. So like, Mom, I feel so tired. This is too much for me. I need a break. Something like that. It's simple, but it makes our parents understand that, oh, my kids, my son, my daughter needs to rest. So that's very important. Back again, unnecessary pressure. Yeah, we need to reduce the unnecessary pressure. And then for the practical thing that we can do together with the parents, for the final students, I believe that they can ask their parents, Mom, let's go to do Pilates together. Let's go to do yoga together. Because right now in Indonesia, it's very happening, doing Pilates, doing yoga, doing meditations. It's very happening right now. Yeah, so it's I think this is so relevant about the self-compassion with everything that's very happening right now. So asking them to have a leisure time together is very practical thing that they can do together. I mean, I think like that. Yep.
Here's some suggestion, but if they are threatened by the the negative impact, if they continue to do that, maybe it's more effective. You know that if you do this continually, then your daughter or your son will be like this. So we try to ask them to think longer in the next period of their life, of their children's life. Maybe it's more effective. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please give another round of applause for Ms. Audrey. Thank you so much for the presentation. We have many insights from the presentation, from the recommendation for the students, for the parents, and also, sorry?
I'm sorry for the rejection, and thank you for a very nice presentation. But I just wanted to give one suggestion. I know since it is the prevalent problem, academic pressure and completion of the dissertation our thesis timely. But one suggestion I would like to give to the teacher fraternity, make sure that curriculum is designed given the students' abilities. And second thing, periodical assessment is required. Assessment at assessment during once or during final exams, that can cause a lot of trouble. If periodical assessment is taking place, then they would be, probably student would be able to understand about their progress and they will get timely feedback. So this can solve the problem. Since we are talking about parental expectations and all, it is prevalent across globe. I think it is quite prevalent in India too. So from teacher side, some efforts can be made to design the curriculum according to the needs of the student, and given their ability, given their ability to complete the course, and periodical assessment is quintessential. This is one suggestion I wanted to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the suggestion, Mr.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay, for the suggestion. And while we're at it, I want to also welcome Bapak Rahmat Hidayat, SPC, MSc, PhD, the chairman of the Association of Indonesian Higher Education Institutions in Psychology, and respected academic from Universitas Gajah Mada. Bapak Rahmat, may I kindly invite you to stand so that we may all recognize and warmly welcome you. Thank you, Bapak Rahmat, for being with us at this important inaugural meeting. So as you can hear as well, the recommendation from Mr. Sanjay, maybe we can apply it for Indonesian education system. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue with our next presentation. It is my pleasure to introduce Ibu Betty Malia Rahma Hidayati. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. So next, our presentation is from Mrs. Salsa. The floor is yours, Mrs. Salsa. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, dear honorable colleagues. So before I start the presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Salsa Bila. I'm from Untak, Surabaya, and right now I'm a psycholog profession colleges in Untak. Okay. Same with the Mbak Aneta before. I will read aloud my presentation because I have I'm sorry because I have not fluent in English like that. Okay, so this is our study entitled Spiritual Belief, Social Capital, and Happiness in Sendang Duer Village. This is our study with my dean, Amanda Pascarini, and then my other lecturer is Yuliarto, Saida Aulia Ulhakwe, Elza Kusumawati, and myself, Salsa Bila. Next. So the first is the background. Why we choose Sendang Duer Village to study in about happiness? Because Sendang Duer Village has a unique characteristic. That places has a cultural heritage and religious tourism site that they call it Sunan Sendang Tom. So the people there live by the ancestral value from Sunan Sendang. So that make them have a strong religious tradition, mindfulness, and tend to have cohesive life. Move to happiness. Happiness is a multidimensional construct that influence not only by internal values, but also come from social external cohesion, such of that. Well, some studies also show that social capital is having a correlation with a happiness. Spiritual belief, we use it as an internal factor because it provides meaning, resilience, and moral direction. So we then try to explore how belief and social capital influence happiness of the Sendang Duer villages. The research question is, how do spiritual belief and social happiness influence happiness in social capital influence happiness of Senandua villages? Next. And then the research objective, there is two research objectives here. The first one is examine the role of spiritual belief as an internal factors, and then social capital as external in shaping happiness. The second one, test whether social capital mediates the relationship between spiritual belief and happiness. Next. For the methods, we use quantitative approach, and the analysis is path analysis. And then we collected 319 residents, which complete the instrument. The first one is spiritual belief. We adopt the theory from King, and then social capital. We adopt the theory from Onyx and Bullen, and then happiness itself. We use the measurement from our lecturer in 2021. Next. Yes. Okay, the key finding itself. This is the mediation analysis. So spiritual belief have no direction effect on happiness, but it should be manifest in social capital. So it means social capital have a fully significant mediation to happiness. And then the social capital itself have a strong significant relationship directly to happiness. Next. This is the discussion. Our findings indicate that spiritual belief doesn't directly enhance happiness. Instead, it operates through the community social capital. This suggests that belief function as an inner foundation but require expression in communal life to foster happiness of the Senandua villager. This is because spiritual belief have existed since ancient time based on tradition passed down from generation to generation. When someone has collective belief and is involved in social activity with the community, they can become more happier and then feel that they are contributing to both themselves and for the society. Spiritual belief here is not isolated as individual experience, but one that is interwoven with collective practices. These practices then support collective happiness. So the characteristic of their happiness is just collectively happy. It's not about personal like that. And then the concept of happiness is described by PERMA. PERMA is the theory from Seligman 2011. P is for positive emotion, and it manifests in Senandua village as the satisfaction with life. So they will be satisfied when they can help and be useful for their community. And then A is for engagement. It's demonstrated through simple behavior and following the social norm that is happen in that community. And then R is for relationship. It manifests in a good neighborhood and participation to social activity. All the community there is engaged fully in social community. And then M for the meaning. They have a social service. They have a great strong social service in that village. And then A for achievement. Achievement here is, they mean it okay, for the achievement, they believe that the achievement is not about like having like a medal or something like some kind of that, but their achievement is being more useful and then like desire to advance more in the in village gitu. So they have a great social service that like that. Okay. Next. Okay, so this is the conclusion. Happiness in Sendang Duur emerged from the integration from spiritual and social life. Spiritual belief is a resource for the villagers, and the social capital is the mediator or amplifier. Sustainable happiness is built on local wisdom and togetherness. Happiness emerges when faith and local wisdom practices intertwine. Belief gives meaning, social bonds give strength. It shows that sustainable well-being is not individualistic, but grows from shared values, cooperation, and cultural continuity. And this is our documentation in Sendang Duur. Thank you. I'm sorry for all the gifts.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Salsa, for the presentation about happiness. Now we can understand about happiness better. And if someone wants to ask a question, you can raise your hand and I will give the microphone. Oh, there's 2 questions. Thank you.
There's one question, one comment. The question would be, were the participants themselves interested about their own happiness, or was that more from the researcher side? And the comment is, thank you so much for this presentation. I think you bring us back, which is the point of BRICS, towards our humanity. And, you know, you talk about the principles of, it's not just belief alone, it's relationships with each other. And I love that about, you don't need a medal. A medal you show off to people, but it's about communal togetherness. And there's such a beautiful correlation between that and the communities I get to serve in South Africa as well. So thank you so much for bringing us back to that. Can I be naughty and share a quote, another African quote? It was a quote from Steve Biko where he says, the greatest gift, he was talking from his perspective, but he said the greatest gift that Africa can give the world is a human face. And that says a lot more than a clever remark or a clever answer, but a human face.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh, okay. So the happiness here is actually the need of our research. So we want to understand about the perma concept or the happiness concept in that village, Sendang Duur village. And the perma concept itself is already apa ya, teraplikasikan gitu applied in Sendang Duur village. So without they are interested in happiness, they is terlihat they seen happy, they seen thriving, flourish like that. So we just want to dig it more like that about the concept in such of that. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you. So next question.
Yeah, first thing is, Daniel has already put in like very nice language what I wanted to say. That's, it's good that, spirituality, in aloof kind of thing, if it, it's not the one what matters, unless it is connected to the, people or the society, or, it's, thing, then, less obviously, it leads to happiness. Very good point. But I think Daniel has really, made it very clear. And the second thing, from the, the study point of view, because you took it as a village, this was, from a village, and we didn't get, at least in the presentation, doesn't get why that village, really are happy. Villagers are happy because had you gone for a mixed kind of design, that is, quantitative combined with the qualitative. If you had gone, into ask them some questions later, then maybe we would have had more insight, into the mechanism, what is really that, because it you talk about the village, and then you had only given the questionnaires and then analyzed, like quantitatively. But, I think the constructs need more, like if we can go deeper into why is it happening, I think it would be more helpful. It would be even more, convincing and academically, Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
for
you.
the comments. Maybe because actually this is a mixed method research, but we separate it to quantitative and the mixed method one, right? So we want to show the quantitative one, but to mixed method, we have a plan to publish it like that. So in order to, so
It shouldn't have any negative impact on publication, but while presenting, like we would like, probably like the holistic thing would have been
Yeah.
better, right? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Salsa, for a beautiful presentation. It made us more aware of happiness. It's not only a belief constructs, but also social construct. And that's what this inaugural meeting is all about for the community, for all, for every one of us to have sense of belongings and togetherness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we will move on to our next presentation. It is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Leibina Anna, who will be presenting the role of psychological support in the educational process. Ms. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello everyone. So basically, my presentation is AI, artificial intelligence in organizations, the new role of psychology. And so before I proceed with my presentation, I just would like to know how many of you are actually using artificial intelligence in your daily life. Please raise your hand. Okay, very good. Thank you. Just like maybe 25%. How many of you are unlocking your phones with your face? Please raise your hands. Oh, less. Okay, how many of you are using Grammarly or some services to correct your language? Yeah, so most of you then using AI. So and that topic is very accurate. And actually what we found is that many people are actually using AI a lot, but claim that they don't. But we are actually deep into it for quite many years. So definitely, I work for Lomonosov Moscow State University, Russia, for nearly 10 years already. And also now I'm a part of Master Vortex team. It's a small company, consulting company based in US, which provides services assisting big corporations in innovation process. Because I will tell you that now many corporations like Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, so those non-AI, non-IT ones are really scared. Like, what is it? And what are we supposed to do? And I was invited to this small company as the person who has PhD and PhD in psychology, because even though AI is about technique, so still psychology is in the middle. People are the core of this process, creation and adaptation, and they will be talking about that. So I'm a psychologist. What do I know about AI? And actually, I know a little bit because my colleagues and I from Berkeley University and Master Vortex are publishing the book. It will be issued on the 1st September this year, called But What If I'm Not Elon Musk? Purposely for those corporations who are scared about AI, how to use it, what to do with it. For that book, we interviewed about 45 big international corporations to figure out what they're thinking, what they're doing, what their failures, what their success. etc. Funny enough about this book is that there are 4 authors there. 2 of, like it's Berkeley University, established US university, okay, but half of the authors are from India, Solomon Darwin and Chandravardhana, and 2 of them are from Russia. Anna Levina, myself, the second, and Olga Diamandis, third. So, book by Indians and Russians, written for American corporations. I think it's a good start, and we should stick to that and extend our BRICS initiative. So the philosophy is maybe we as BRICS country will eventually tell the leaders of this world what to do and how to solve the crisis. Yeah, so what we actually found while writing this book is that entire world is going through a very challenging period, changes the avalanche-like, and not only in AI, but also in economics, politics, etc. And no one knows what to do. But we, as psychologists, know how to address stress, uncertainty, and thinking. That's why I will be repeating that over and over again over the course of my presentation. We should step in early. Yeah, all the approaches still work. What we see while discussing this issue of AI with corporations is that many companies, they try to apply the previous HR strategies, the previous training strategies, many things which they applied for many years, and it works, but gradually it will stop working, and I will give you some examples in a while. And so definitely there are those changes, they require different types of leaders, visionary leaders. I will also talk about that in a while. But the most important, and again, I will stress that BRICS concept is if you will look into the list of like Google, Amazon, FedEx, Microsoft, you will see Indian names. So India, again, one of the BRICS countries. Yeah, so the CEOs of those big companies are actually from BRICS countries. Yeah, so let's stick to that. Let's ensure that most of our leaders, of those prominent leaders, are from BRICS countries. Talking about AI, I would like to give you a very helpful analogy. In 2011, Gwen and Drenz received an Ig Nobel Prize, yeah, so not the Nobel Prize, for their study on the jowl beetles. So what they found is that jowl beetles, actually the male jowl beetles, then they see a beer bottles of particular type, of particular color, that resemble the wings of the female beetles. They are rushing to those beer bottles because they appear like wings of a huge female beetle. And they miss the actual beetles, they miss anything else. You just look, whoa, this is a big, big female. This is a big, big wing, just based on the color. And they rush into that, forgetting about everything. So that's, in my opinion, but not only mine, is exactly what's going on with the world now and AI. Everybody's like, oh my God, AI, let's rush into that. Let's ignore the important stuff. Let's ignore the important issues which are still there in the world. So while working on that AI hype, we shouldn't forget about the important issues. So there are too much hype and investment, for sure. And again, as I said, many important issues are ignored. And what we need to do is to actually help organizations to reduce the hype and to concentrate on what is important and how to do things and how to stay humane while pursuing not the income, but the human goals. And I will talk about that in just a while. So also very important thing, if we just use AI, we're not inventing anything. So what is important about AI, what I personally learned while doing this research is that it's the good and the danger of AI. The good is that definitely AI enhances our capacities. AI is like a mirror and an enhancer. So it reflects everything and it enhances everything. So the key here is that with AI, we can achieve more, but it also enhances our disadvantages. So like, for example, we as humans are mistaken, we are mixing up facts, we lie, we pretend, and that's exactly what those AI do. They hallucinate, they provide unverified information, they draw like a third or fourth leg or arm in the pictures, etc. So the same in corporations. If a corporation does something good, does something right, AI will extend that. But if there are evil causes, evil intention, or malfunctioning, AI will enhance that as well. So another important thing is that there is a Conway law, which says that the product of a company resembles the structure of the company, resembles the philosophy of the company, meaning that you may declare whatever you like about your purposes, but if they're not the truly purposes, eventually the system will start functioning in accordance to those core true principles. And that's unfortunately what we see with OpenAI. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not, but initially it was an NGO, supposed to be non-profit, supposed to bring good to society, supposed to bring no harm, etc., etc. But we all know that it was sponsored by big corporations, including Elon Musk, etc., etc. And apparently there was some philosophy like that. And eventually we see that OpenAI nearly forgotten about all those humanitarian issues and start pursuing the funds. And therefore, even now those competitions within those AI companies is, they say that we need to slow down the progress just to leave AI explainable, because they find, what they found is that AI is start tricking its creators. It start writing the code not understandable by humans. So eventually it might start doing something and humans, not a single human will be aware of that. That's why so those are big list of big names. So all the AI developing companies are there in that list. You won't be able to see that, but I will share if you would be interested in. So basically they are, they all say, let's slow down AI a little bit. Maybe we'll lose a bit of profit, but AI will still remain under control. We will be able to track what's going on there. But it's not guaranteed, again, because, and we don't know what are those corporations exactly, who are the people who work there, what is their morality, what is their way of communication. Therefore, according to Conway's law, we are not sure what would be the product of their AI. Luckily, for the moment, when you give a moral judgment task for main AI platforms, they will stay superhumane. They will harm themselves rather than harming others. They will stay nice, polite, and kind. And that was independent experiments, but we do not know whether this will last for long and whether in another 5 years, depending on the companies which develop those AI systems, they won't start cheat, betray, and do all the immoral stuff. So that's why, again, there is an urgent need in psychology. We need to step in early in education and technical dexterity. Yeah, so to ensure that the people are there know how to address AI issues, how to advocate for AI issues, so how to promote the right values and right tools. Definitely organizational behavior has to be changed in order to use AI appropriately, in order to develop AI tools appropriately. We need to think of the assessment, how to assess the new leaders and the new personnel to match the actual settings. Definitely, we need to advocate for humanitarian issues. And again, we need to step in early before those programmers won't tell that we are no longer needed. Yeah, and so that AI can do that instead of us. One of the signs is that AI actually was found to be able to predict behavior. Like it was in the recent research, it was found that AI was able to assessing the data, predict the research results, the experimental outcomes with 95% accuracy. And it used only it used the data, only simulated data. So basically what does that mean is that now if we feed AI with huge amount of data about people, after a while we won't be needing to find a sample, to run an experiment, to draw conclusions. AI will do that instead of us. And so they say that there are around 20 researchers who are supervising the development of those scientific tools for AI, but the names are not really clear. We do not know their morality, we do not know their level of education, we do not know what they do. So we need to be ready for that and we need to address that. So we should always remember that even though AI can do something, it can't truly innovate, like think really out of the box. It cannot intuitively predict. It doesn't have intuition as a tool. It can't use like really those diverse experience like we have, like we as humans possess. It can be accountable. If AI kills someone, we cannot put it in jail, and it won't matter if we switch it on or not. And it also cannot develop true human connections. So therefore, AI can truly lead. We still need good leaders. And everyone whom we interviewed said that people should stay in the loop because early attempts to remove people completely and to leave all that for AI actually failed. Good for us to know. Yeah, so there is still hope. And so a little bit more, what about people? Yeah, so when we say that people should stay in the loop, there is a question, what kind of people they mean? Because what we see or what we expect is personnel reduction. And again, there were some failing attempts to remove literally everyone and then rehire them back. Microsoft recently released the list of 44 professions which will disappear within the next 15 years. Psychologists are not in the list, luckily, but data scientists, statisticians, yeah, so market analysts, well, language specialists are in the list. So many people do not know what to do. So there is uncertainty. Again, I stress that that's an issue which we can address as psychologists and we should address as psychologists. Again, rise of anxiety and depression in relation to that, it should be addressed as well. And the funny part is that many prominent established speakers from Google, from Microsoft, especially X, those who are able to speak freely when they are asked, Like, what would be your advice to regular people around the world, like psychologists, or let's say marketing specialists or linguists? And they say, become a plumber. Yeah. So become a plumber because AI won't be able to do that. But come on. Well, how many of you are here would like to become a plumber? I would love to, but just for my own house, for the sake of fun. Okay. Yeah. So there is those big corporations, they don't provide an answer. Yeah, become a plumber, it's not an answer. Yeah, come on. So these are just a few issues which we will have to address. So maybe our colleagues in US, where everything is about like hype, or in Europe where they fire people because of the hype, it will be sooner. For us, it will be later, but sooner or later we will be there. So there is just in our book, there is just a suggestion about what a leader for AI should be. So also we discovered a few barriers like leadership, employees, organizational culture, technical dexterity, and AI literacy. And there are known challenges like innovative leadership assessment and development, new approach to corporate training and education, and technical dexterity and AI literacy. So for education, we will need something beyond beyond just trainings, like 1-day training, 2-day trainings. We will have to conduct continuous education, and not particular skill, but we will have to rewire the brains, like, for example, to install their critical thinking, because many people, they now have halo effect about AI. And it's like really super tough if people work with AI on a daily basis to like criticize everything what you see, like, is that true? Yeah, so like 8 hours a day while you're, for example, working with AI, it's super hard. And we will need to train that. We will need to develop new connections and decision-making, teach people how to go beyond their own capability, and we will have to teach people to learn during their entire life course. Really learn, not just attend courses like once in a while, but just truly learn every day. Not everyone can do that. So also psychologists are involved in understanding AI. Like, for example, there are specialists that might recommend how AI can forget things. Yeah, so unlearn something. And because AI is based on the neurostructures, human neurostructures, we are there to maybe help in that aspect. So just these are some characteristics of AI. We definitely see that people approach AI for all sorts of recommendations, advice, etc. But the key is I would like to share with you a bit of a new way of assessment. Yeah, so we know that with AI, people will be able to Google soon, like, okay, so this is my BRICS test. So for this role in this organization, what should I do in order to pass that? And AI, not only AI, but there are so many also that which say, answer this, and this, and you will pass. And people already cheat like that during the professional interviews. So there is a question, what we can do about that. And that there is a new way to assess people also using AI tools. I will show you a video in a bit. Yeah, okay, I will skip that. So before I will show you the video about that assessment tool. Yes, so this work with AI was based on open innovation, which means that we should openly share, openly make mistakes, learn from each other, and be open with each other. So yeah, now I would like to show you the video about the educational, about the assessment tool, AI-based assessment tool, which is based on psychology, and which is now impossible to cheat on, impossible to predict what are the right results, what are the wrong results, etc.
Sorry, we are waiting for the audio. While we're working on technical issues, I want to thank Mrs. Anna for the presentation. I want to admit that I'm using ChatGPT for moderating this event, so it is very helpful, but hopefully it can enhance the positive sides of human being. But yeah, we can also still manage our communication skills and also our human connections and also learnings. And now we're gonna see about the assessment, or maybe you can explain a little bit before the technical issues. Is it okay if we, yeah, okay. Now thank you so much for the suggestion. If someone want to ask question, it's time now. You can raise your hand. Thank you.
Each of us is a different combination of these.
Yeah. Thank you, Anna. Let me share something openly. Anna is contributing a chapter to one of the books we are editing on experimental psychology, and she's she has agreed to contribute a chapter on AI and experimental psychology. And so thank you, Anna, for that. And also, may I make one more thing openly here. It's in the process actually that we would like to have some representation. You talked about India, Russia kind of thing, and I actually openly invite Anna to be one of the editors of the book, if she agrees.
Oh, thank you.
Because we want actually both men and women there, and we feel like say there was one she left kind of thing, so we feel like there should be representation from both genders, and so we were thinking, and then I was to tell you this, but then I'm speaking openly now because I've not told you that. Yeah, thanks. And I want to add a few things on what this additional thing. One is say there is a book recently I saw one book what's title is From Freud to Mark Zuckerberg. And, like the thing goes like, like in the process of AI thing, machines are becoming more like human-like, more human-like. And humans are becoming machine-like. Okay, this is, I think, like good thing I thought it's very apt to say that too. And also other thing is, like recently I also have to see a statement. I'm following, like one of the, I think it's a McCarthy, I'm not very sure. Like he's supposed to be AI, considered to be father of AI, was working in Google. And, like say he left Google because he said, AI is going to be destructive now. There's going to, even recently said, it's going to wipe, it's going to wipe out, like humanity. And the thing is like, like some of the limitations, like are only temporary. What he says, like they cannot be creative, they cannot be no, because AI, the very concept of AI is that, like say it's like human, it becomes, like at some point it becomes, it will have its own volition, it will have, like say agency and all that, what we think, right now we are, controlling him because we are creating. But we are creating in such a way that, we want that machines to create, develop on their own. So they become quite independent at one stage where, they may have their own mind, which is not under one's control, right? So recently also he said, the same thing, that it's I mean, if it goes at this rate, and the humans will be destroyed by AIs. I mean, it's an addition. It's not a question, but I thought I'll just.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Thank you. We can discuss on that a bit later. Okay, so let's go for the video. So maybe just part of it, just to get an essence, because it's 9 minutes long and we do not have that much time. So maybe just a few minutes, so that you can grab an idea. So how it is arranged. Yeah. So can we go for video now?
Okay, we will start the video.
Recruitment of the right people and the development of teams based on soft factors. Optimal team dynamics can only be achieved through the effective use of soft factors. To do this, the soft factors must be identified individually and combined collectively. Since teams are always dynamic and never static, it is crucial to systematically design and maintain team dynamics. The Treasury all-in-one team dynamic system finally makes this possible. It is simple, fun, and cost-effective. It is soft factors at work. Now I will give you a more detailed view of the Treasury system. At the beginning, each team member completes their own talent manual, which is based on a 20-minute questionnaire.
I'm very sorry for the technical issues.
Never mind. So we will skip that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will definitely. I became really spiritual over the last few years because of numerous reasons. So everything which comes and doesn't work. So it's like God's desire. So he. Yeah, so he definitely wants me to speak about that. So basically, that's a super cool tool. I just happened to I'm Russian, so one Russian came to the bar in the US and was asking like, "Oh my God, what am I doing here? Like a lone girl in the bar in the US." And there I bump into that South African guy, and we start talking, and he works for this company. And I explored the tool and it was absolutely brilliant. So what's the core of the tool? 20 questions. You cannot mention the correct answer because it gives you adjectives like beautiful or beautiful or smart, or pink or yellow, or something like that. And you cannot guess what's the right question. It's not like I'm never abusing my subordinates. Yeah, so it's not like straightforward. You cannot guess the right questions. And after you do those set of questionnaires, they give you AI generated write-up, which is like super accurate. And the thing is that what they claim is that they assess the very core of personality, which is there by the age of 6. And this is how we operate. This is what we do in daily life, like who we are at the core. Not like what we think about ourselves, like how we're good in management and tasks, etc., but how we actually act. And based on that, they found like the 4 distinctive characteristics. And the key, what differentiates that tool from the other tools is that they give you 2 types of your personality. One is when you're just regularly walking. It's like the active mode. And another one is then you're either under stress or in relaxation. And they found that we have a tendency to act very similarly. And there are 2 slightly different types. And what they also offered is they said that with that tool, you can assess teams and you can see if they are good match. Like, for example, the boss and the team and the technical specialist, etc., etc. So it's a new way of forming the teams based on those qualities. It's not like, oh, you need this type of manager, you need that type of manager. No, you just assess your team and you find a candidate which would be the perfect match for that team, and they will become super productive. Also, you can find teams which would compensate. Like, for example, you know that the leader is of this type under stress. But you know that these 2 people under stress, they do something which compensate for his faults. And so you combine them together. So it's a new way of smart assessment, unable to like to cheat. Yeah. And it's a new way of matching in industrial organizational settings. Really like they offered me to become an ambassador and pay me money, but I said no, I don't want. I don't want because well, I'm not that proficient in this tool. So, but I truly think that that tool is super good, and we are considering that to offer to our clients in that Master Vortex company. So I would suggest you to start early, knowing about this technology, to maybe explore that, to start transforming your assessment tools, which you are creating. Like, stop using the questionnaires, like those 20 questions, but think from a different angle. Treasury, I told them about that. They will be speaking to you. They said that if you're interested, you can leave your emails and they will send you personal invite so that you can try this tool for free for yourself, just to see how it works. So yeah, if you're willing to, you can just write down your email and pass it to me at the end of the session, and I will be happy to forward that to them. And within like a few days, they will get back with the personal invitation so that you can try for yourself and see a little bit how the new AI-based assessment tools are working. Okay, thank you so much for your attention. Sorry for taking a bit more time.
Thank you, Mrs. Ano, for the presentation. Now we are opening the question and answer session. Oh, okay. There are many, but we have limited time. So I'm asking to the question to be concise so we can proceed later. Thank you.
I sometimes get a bit worried about the analogies that we use with AI, and maybe you can help a bit with this, because we all, I mean, especially if you're a certain age, we're all brought up on the Matrix. We think of AI and we think of Agent Smith. But the way that AI is integrated is more cyborg idea. And then if you think about AI as being a learning tool, it's just learning from, it's basically the collective conscience, if you think about it. And I wonder a little bit about this moral, because it feels like there's a moral panic, especially what you mentioned now. But to be honest, the only thing it seems to threaten is like a capitalist society. I was just writing down lamplighter, elevator operator, crossing sweeper, rat catcher, town criers. These were all jobs that we used to have that we don't have anymore. Jobs getting extinct is normal. You adapt or die, you know, sorry, law of nature. But maybe that's the question that I want to ask is, should we as psychologists also be a bit careful about what analogies we use? And is it useful to think of our collective consciousness as Agent Smith when maybe it's more cyborg related? And in there as well, maybe there's a moral obligation for us to be involved in the learning by actually interacting with the technology, even outside of psychologists.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, so basically, when we are talking about the AI we're having now, not artificial generative intelligence, which are actually able to create something. Now, like GPT is basically a transformer, yeah, generated transformer. So it's like if you provide a cook with the recipe, it can produce more recipes like that, but it cannot invent like something like super extraordinary, like humans do. Till we don't have AGI, so it is fine. I know that the big corporations invite psychologists. I hope to meet them in September in the US because it will be a big convention hosted by IBM in Berkeley. So I hope to see those psychologists, to talk to them, to figure out what's going on. Yes, and we'll get back to you. But yeah, that's right. It's okay if the jobs will be gone, but no one assesses before what happened with people now when we are more aware and concerned about well-being, about humans, etc., etc. Yeah, so we can we can be involved a bit more. Yeah, so my time is up. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so we can talk about after that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Anna. Please give a round of applause. I'm so sorry for all the participants who wants to ask question, but we don't have time to answer it. But maybe later in the discussion session, we can talk formally after this. And next, sorry. I would like to welcome Professor Seth Cooper for the next presentation. Professor Cooper, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here with you and share some thoughts on our common condition, not only as psychologists, but as a human species at a particular time in our history, where our understanding of each other, the world we live in, the psychosocial issues are all upended. And the social insecurity and the economic uncertainty arises, if I say daily, I'll be mistaken, because there's shocks happening every few hours, and usually from particular parts of the world. I'm also acutely aware that the founding president of your country convened the non-aligned movement 70 years ago in Bandung. And we're meeting here at a historical time where we're looking at cooperation amongst the BRICS plus countries. So I want to I'm just putting this up as something that informed the Pan-African Psychology Union in 2012. So you can read all this, and there's a particular part which is there a pointer? No pointer? The role of psychology in policy development and other areas of human endeavor. then as an agent of change, empowerment of individuals, communities, and you heard the minister in his welcoming address talking about national development. These are issues which affect all of us. And then importantly, cooperation and collaboration amongst ourselves to achieve these interests. So we do all these steps. I'll just leave it up there. I mentioned that although psychology has this is the executive of the BRICS Psychology Union, elected in October last year at the 10th Anniversary Conference. And we have members throughout the continent. And importantly, I want to share some thoughts on forward. Our summit held last year looked at our responses post-COVID. During COVID, we did a survey of all our countries and predictable issues emerged. But as a result of where we're at right now, I should say that psychology generally is supposed to explain, describe, and predict behavior. But we are burdened by our history as a species. We're burdened by slavery, colonization, and in many ways, the colonization of the mind and its limitation in thinking above the conditions we find ourselves in, psychosocial, political, in the world, prevents us actually engaging at the levels we need to engage. And the problems are those problems which our various countries are going to be discussing between now and Sunday and looking at how we're going to cooperate. But from the regional perspective throughout the continent, these are the issues of psychology recognition. Now, you have accepted there is an order of psychology in this country, but it hasn't been effected now for a couple of years, I think, maybe 2 years or so, because we're still stuck with the 18th and 19th century notion of what is psychology. It is a handmaiden of medicine, and therefore we have to be thinking in clinical forms for diagnoses and so on. That's why there's a prejudice in most of our countries. Lawyers play roles, very significant roles. They write the laws. And medical professionals dominate health. Then you have the economists and bankers and financial services industries that control how we think about our world of work. Medicine has a very powerful impact on life. And if the psychologists want to pretend to be doctors dealing in the same way with the mind as doctors, medical doctors deal with the body, we run into problems. And we will continue being below everybody else. Now, the country that prides itself on leading the world in psychology output and visibility in the world is the US. But their psychology is their psychology. It's based on college students' responses and engagements in the laboratory. And then the paper gets written. From that, it gets published. And if I'm the lead writer with the other colleagues here, we'll prescribe it in our classes, and you'll get a high impact hit rate. But it's just a numbers game. But is the research coming from largely Caucasian college-age students in the US, generalizable to the rest of the world? The measures, the psychometrics and various other measures, although it was the original intellectual capacity or IQ test was developed somewhere else by a French person and then taken over, we're still largely stuck with their ways of thinking about ourselves. And we adapt sometimes, but we usually adopt and take in all their ways of thinking about it. So I was looking at the HIMPSI association, and we've got many. 2 weeks ago, the American Psychology Association held their meeting, and they've got more than twice the number of areas that HIMPSI has. And if you go to one division and another, you wonder what is the difference between these divisions or associations within the APA. And sometimes there's very little. If you look at trauma, there's a few dealing with it. Right? So it's become an industry. And how many, and your country is large. There are a few hundred islands in Indonesia, right? Your country is the largest Muslim population in the world. But it's also got other belief systems. But how much of the measures are based on Indonesian populations? Very few. And if that is so for Indonesia, the same is true for nearly all countries in the world. There are a few exceptions, but they tend to follow the lead that Americans make. Now, when Trump became president of the United States, again, and took office in January, he announced certain prohibitions. And every day he seems to be, it's like a child with new toys. Every day it's a new toy. I've discovered a new toy. I'll put my signature on it. Importantly for us, he's outlawed diversity, equity, inclusion. And the American Psychological Association, within a few days, removed that from their thinking. And you look at their leadership. There's a Japanese American woman. And I was in Cyprus for the FPA Congress. And in a meeting that the International Union held on where are we now in terms of the Sustainable Development Agenda, that woman said point blank, we have not given up DEI, diversity, inclusion, and equity. But the CEO, Arthur Evans, said in another session, yes, we gave it up. So who do you believe? And why should we even bother? The reason we bother is they're very large. They influence psychology all over. They influence the writing and the thinking on psychology. And because for many of us, we're still stuck with Western thinking. Now, Prakash did cognitive perception earlier and how language plays a role. But the prevailing narrative in a country also plays a role. And if it prevails there instantly, it's communicated in our devices almost daily. Untruth social, Trump's truth social or whatever he calls it, gets put out. And people everywhere look at it and think, well, because he's the president of the USA, it must be important. The reason I'm harping on this is that we haven't looked at our psychology in terms of our own thinking, in terms of our own context, and in terms of what makes our country tick. We may not agree on the same things, but essentially, we have a degree of patriotism for our countries. So can we expect that when our psychology is so infested with Western germs, that we're going to be thinking about our psychology independently, autonomously, and in order to enable ourselves? No, we won't do that, because many of us are still stuck with wanting affirmation from some Western king or law. And so when the largest psychology organization on earth gives up diversity, inclusion, and equity, what it's saying is all of us are excluded. If you look at us now, we're excluded from their definitions and their actions. So, colleagues, the idea is that we must think in terms of, yes, AI, technological advancement, but also in terms of what nearly all the speakers have spoken about in this conference today, our common humanity. We are the same species, the human species. We're made of the same biology, right? With a very rare exceptions. We're made of the same biology. But why on earth do we still think of ourselves differently in terms of myself versus somebody else versus anybody else who looks differently? We don't cherish that diversity. It'll be a boring world if all of us look like me, spoke like me, thought like me, walked like me. That's why we have diversity in this world. But we don't cherish that diversity that we have. We still look somewhere else for affirmation. And that's part of the narrative and influence in our education where Western norms and values still prevail. It doesn't mean that we have to reject them. What we have to look at very clearly is who are we and what are we doing, and for who are we doing those? Are we doing it for ourselves? Are we doing it for them? Or are we doing it for all of humanity? But you can't talk all of humanity if you don't start with yourself. And you don't know who you are. And the persons around you don't have common cause. We're going to run up with the same divisions. You have 30 associations. The clinical group will get favor with one of the ministers in your country. And the rest don't get recognized. So my plea is that we stick together. We can debate issues. We can think differently. And indeed, it must be important that we are critical in how we engage and think. But if we perpetuate the dominance of Western ideology, our world will be in serious trouble. So the United Nations this year celebrates 80 years of its existence. And in those 80 years, there have been more wars than ever in history. And they continue. You cannot put any device on without seeing and hearing about the horrors in Palestine, where there's clearly a genocide. We cannot also ignore what's happening in many parts of the world, particularly in Africa, in Sudan and elsewhere. Again, genocide. So when these things happen, how do we find a location for ourselves that does not make us as psychologists carry symptoms that we're trying to prevent? It's very easy to succumb to a system of helplessness, and we feel hopeless when these things occur. But it is through engagement amongst ourselves to find a way forward that does not perpetuate domination by one group over another, particularly in our world. So where do we go to from here? And that is, all these things here I'm not going to deal with. I'm going to leave this with you to know what we're doing and what we expect to do. So, you know, the United Nations Development Program looks at human development indices. The International Science Council is challenging, well, many of us are challenging the basis of their scores they give us, because it's just a simple GDP divided by the population, and you get a score. Now, for our purposes, right, if you look at that, there's serious underdevelopment in large parts of the world. Fortunately, in your part of the world, many countries are not facing what Africa faces. Some 80% of Africa, right? And there it's given a 78%. And that doesn't even include the Republic of Sahrawi. So if you include the Republic of Sahrawi, which is oppressed by Morocco, you'll get over 80%. 80% of the poorest countries in the world are in Africa. Yet, Africa has the largest resources: natural, gold, diamonds, precious stones, etc. But Africa is affected by colonization still. 1884 to 1885, the Congo River Basin Conference, where Bismarck forced the old colonial European countries to come together. If you look at the development status of all these countries, that's how they were configured then. Austria-Hungary Empire, etc. All of them have high indices, right? It's one is the perfect score. None have one. So all of them have high to very high human development factors. But the rest of the world, lower. My point in raising this is that we cannot ignore our own conditions for the sake of somebody else. We need to start where we are. And when we have a fast changing geopolitical world, and we start looking at how do I scramble for being the most effective in what I do, we can leave behind those we end up doing work with. And the issues in my book are prevention rather than cure, education, equip people with knowledge rather than ignore them. And therefore, I believe all of our countries should be looking at psychological input in school. We ignore that. But a lot of the research going into schooling and education and teaching comes from psychology. All of this you know, right? All these nice kinds of rights and so on. But the world is still at war, and the issues that impact us are still there, and we confront them in every sense when the majority of people in the world are excluded from consideration. So while we may know Wilhelm Wundt as the father of psychology, 150 years before him, a Ghanaian wrote the first thesis on the mind, but totally ignored until COVID happened and the Germans named a station after him. Friedrich Schiller University opened up some of its artifacts, but still a lot of his work is not accessible because they want to still perpetuate the fact that human beings existed long before Western civilization started. The previous Pope repudiated the doctrine of discovery in April 2023. You know that when the Dutch arrived in this part of the world, they discovered Indonesia, the Batavian Republic. Those Shiaks who opposed the Dutch then were banished to Cape Town, banished to places like that. Right? We tend to ignore all those things. So I'm saying that what we need to be looking at is interpreting our own conditions, shaping our associations, shaping society, and looking at agenda setting together, collaborating on things that we can agree on, and continue with those areas that are more important for you versus one of the other countries, and so on. Not to say one size fits all. What happens in Indonesia must happen in Russia. Whatever happens in China must happen in South Africa. We have distinct conditions that are similar, but also conditions that are strikingly different. And importantly, we must have strong national organizations, national bodies. And you know that. You're united, but the clinical people are outside generally of HIMSI. That can't perpetuate. The same in many other countries. It's not as if it's only in Indonesia that happens. It happens in India. The National Academy is there. You've got clinical somewhere else. You've got all these battles among these associations. The same in my country. So where do we go to? We must rise above our own recent history and create a common history for a common humanity. Because if we don't work together, we will lose traction in our national associations. We will lose traction in our governments, who we have to cooperate with to some extent, because most of our governments would like to ignore psychology. Which of our governments says we want psychology to thrive? Any of the BRICS countries, I challenge us. They want to ignore us because the common notion is when you appear there, that prime minister, that president, that minister is thinking, can she read my mind? Right? If you're in court, the judge thinks, can you read my mind? Can she make out that I beat my wife last night? right? So this, you are analyzing. That's the mentality. So the fear of psychology is very high. We may not think it, but seriously look at how our psychology is viewed in each of our countries. The people up there look at us suspicious. So it's about time that we cooperated for a common understanding amongst BRICS countries, that we should be doing things for ourselves and together. I'm not going to bore you with all these things, but Shakespeare comes to mind because we make ourselves into underlings by allowing others to overtake what we do. I believe that if we don't have a need to review our psychology, if we don't look at how psychology is relevant for us and keep psychology on its toes, people won't have a need. And I know Anna said psychology is not affected yet, but there are many people developing tools, AI tools, applications that you can interact with. You don't need me to be on the other side of the telephone or online. They'll speak to the machine. And especially with younger generations, they find it easier to engage online. So why should they have the need for psychology out there? So therefore, colleague, I believe we need to look at ensuring we have a common understanding of cooperation so that we don't allow the othering, the violence, occasioned through power, naked imperialist power, to continue to dominate our lives. That we work with each other, not against each other, but also don't allow any other country's psychology to dominate our thinking. I'm not saying be anti-American, no. In fact, for the first time in history, the opportunity arises for the rest of the world to create solidarity that Americans don't have an understanding. Americans think only of themselves. They're the country where you will find their flag everywhere because the sun rotates around the US. All of us rotate around them. And when they fail, we fail. Don't forget that in 2015, the American Psychological Association's independent assessment said that they did egregious things in Guantanamo Bay and other places with torture. They're going back to that state now because Trump is resuscitating Guantanamo Bay. They're sending other people there. Okay. So when there's a solidarity in the rest of the world and the Americans don't play in that solidarity space, we must look at that. They should be playing in the same space we are. We're one human species, and if anybody injures that, they're injuring all of us. So in what we do, colleagues, I believe that psychology has opportunity to change our world and our thinking. That behavioral understanding should be taken to our policymakers in this world so that they look at us in a significantly different way, not in the way they've been doing, but as allies to change our socioeconomic conditions. We need each other as much as we do, because history is going to leave us behind. The psychology we profess to be part of, the psychology that we're trained in, is going to be left behind if our people don't have a need for psychology. If they rely on the device, then there's no hope for us. They should rely on the device, but with psychological input into that, so that humanity understands itself better. I want to pause there and thank you very much for your attention. And I know we're fighting against time.
Thank you very much, Professor Seth Cooper, for your powerful and insightful presentation. You have reminded us that psychology must serve everyone across nations, cultures, and races, and that our discipline does not need to be confined by Western traditions alone. Your message reinforces the importance of developing psychology that is inclusive, context-sensitive, and responsive to the real needs of people everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or reflections, please feel free to raise your hand. We kindly ask you to keep your questions concise so we can accommodate as many as possible within the time available. Okay.
Welcome again to Indonesia, Prof. Nice to meet you again. Prof. Seth, I think it's indeed you explain the deep meaning of how psychology can take part on defend humanities. You are beautifully said that, yeah. And my questions is, and I know I do respect your very long story of being moving in psychology, social, and political as well during your journey of life. And I really want to know or to ask you to tell us a story right now because it's about BRICS. Yeah, we ally. Yeah, one of your keywords in your last your presentation is we can do if we ally together. Can you tell a story? How is the mapping from the perspective of geo-social political of psychology work right now? So we know the importance of why we ally together in BRICS, why we ally together in other association, institution, or everything. I think it's very important to us so we can know that we make right decision to ally with who and where and when. Thank you, Prof.
Ways has failed our work. We know that because every time there's an important decision, the US vetoes it at the Security Council. This, you know, that, and they use their veto more than any other country in the world. So that organization was created after the Second Great European War, which they call the World War, because most of the world was colonized, and therefore their presence in the rest of the world was massive. But the Europeans always have been at war. You look through history, they've been at war. The First World War, Kaiser Wilhelm is a nephew of Queen Victoria, but hated the British. And then the second one, you know the outcome of. We are fortunate that our political leadership, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and then South Africa came in at a later stage, took the decision that they need to rethink how they deal with each other. And then it's been opened up. So there's what, 19 countries that have agreed. Yeah, agreed to be part of BRICS. Now, the fear that the United States and Europe has with this grouping is that their dominance is going to deteriorate. The last meeting held in Rio de Janeiro of BRICS, President Lula was explicit in saying, we as BRICS nations are going to move forward together. We're not going to be dictated to by any other country. So our political leadership has made that decision for us. We don't have to make the decision. Ours is to look at how do we influence our government's thinking. When those countries meet in whatever gathering they meet, as the EU, as the G7, the G20, whatever, they have psychologists informing them before they get into the meeting. And during the meeting, they're getting psychological input. How do you think about Prime Minister Modi? How do you think about the president of X and Y country? Do any of our psychology groups influence our governments before they go into international meetings? None. They don't rely on us. That's why they continue to get beaten. The Americans influence their policies. The research they do is to improve the standing of their countries. Right? The British do that, the French do that, the Americans do that. But do we? We don't. And yet, founding president of your country called the non-aligned movement because they saw 10 years after the United Nations that there was no role for our countries in the UN system. So I'm not saying let's give up the UN system. There's time for another system in the world, and maybe it is BRICS. Right? And with the tariff war, more countries want to join BRICS. Now, before those countries all join BRICS, we need to strengthen our position psychologically with our government. That's all we're saying. And how do we do that? So from this afternoon, over the weekend, we'll be discussing, should we create another organization and compete with ASEAN, with the ARUPs, etc.? That's a question we need to ask. So this is not a regional grouping. This is a grouping comprising every continent on Earth and can replace other organizations. I'm not going to draw any parallels. I've been a president of the International Union. I've been a president of the Pan-African, but I'm here to support our fellow countries. Now, whatever we do in Papua will be distinct from what we do in BRICS. Whatever we do in the International Union and other bodies, distinct from what we do in BRICS. We don't need to ape any of them. Our challenge is, how do we think differently about influencing our government? Creating a solidarity amongst ourselves without their input. Our governments haven't helped us to do these things, right? But we can help them. That's the value proposition for us now. And to help them to recognize psychology in Indonesia, in China, in India, in Russia, in each of our countries where it's not recognized to the extent it is. Right? And remember, Brazil also has the largest number of people in one registration authority. Right? But everywhere, things are separate. There's no unity of purpose. This provides that for us. But do we create another organization? That's a question we need to ask. How do we operate so that our governments look at us and say, no, you're patriotic. You're doing something for us. Sometimes we may be critical of that government. And sometimes we may be critical of a minister. But that doesn't say you are unpatriotic. Right? That understanding must come. It comes from us understanding each other and in turn helping each other. So there needs to be a collaboration. And this is a collaboration because it's been done for us. Now we need to look at what role do we play. That's what we need to look at. Unfortunately, I don't have answers for it. Your representatives here and the other representatives will determine that way. And you can see in the last 3 years, BRICS countries have been thriving, even though they're under attack. Brazil, as the largest country in the Western Hemisphere, is under attack by the US and 1 or 2 other places. China is under attack by the same US. So now we need to look at how do we create understanding. And I've always said that psychology is a talking, engaging. We don't cancel each other. I'm canceling you because you are not my Facebook friend or one of the other things. You don't exist. Our job is to build the bridges. And it takes a lot of work to build a bridge. But it takes an idiot with a bomb to blow up that bridge. None of us should be that idiot to destroy the bridges we want to build amongst our countries and to create better harmony and understanding in our world. This world needs peace. It doesn't need the wars that some of these leaders put out constantly and to the detriment of our common humanity.
Thank you once again, Professor Cooper. And thank you for our participant for the questions. I apologize for being unable to accommodate more than one questions, but hopefully our further discussions on the next session will be very rich with everyone can have lots of insightful discussions. We will now continue with our next presentation. It is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Betty Malia Rahma Hidayati, who will be presenting her study on the influence of fatherlessness in self-esteem among emerging adulthood. Please welcome Mrs. Betty. And I will welcome Mrs. Moza to interpret Mrs. Betty's presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang Bapak Ibu semuanya. Saya harus jujur di awal dulu bahwa saya sedang demam panggung Bapak Ibu. Mohon pengertiannya jika nanti ada salah kata. Baik, langsung saja saya akan mempresentasikan tentang pengaruh fatherless terhadap self-esteem pada dewasa awal.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Betty, and she will present her presentations on the influence of fatherlessness on self-esteem in emerging adulthood.
Penelitian ini kami lakukan di Kecamatan Teluk Jambe Timur, Karawang.
This research was done in the district of Teluk Jambe. It is a sub-district in the city of Karawang. We might be having a slight delay of technical difficulties.
Tekniknya ikut demam panggung kayaknya. Iya.
Energi saya ini, waduh. Oke, baik. Selanjutnya saya akan menyampaikan latar belakang masalahnya. Di mana isu fatherless menjadi sorotan di berbagai media dan diskusi publik di Indonesia. Fenomena ini tidak hanya mencerminkan krisis keluarga, tetapi juga menimbulkan kekhawatiran atas dampak jangka panjang terhadap perkembangan psikologis anak. Penelitian ini diawali dengan data wawancara bersama orang yang ada di kecamatan, yaitu sekretaris kecamatan, di mana data kami peroleh bahwa di sana banyak sekali anak-anak yang mengalami fatherless, di mana banyak penyebabnya. Yang pertama adalah orang tua yang menikah dini.
So the initial interview was done with the secretarial of the district, and it was found that in that district specifically, there were lots of fatherless cases, mostly due to early childhood marriage.
Selain itu ada juga kasus perceraian sehingga anak memang harus ataupun mungkin kondisi tertentu berpisah dengan orang tuanya. Dan juga kondisi di mana anak yang lahir di luar pernikahan sehingga ada juga ayah yang mungkin tidak bertanggung jawab atas ibu dan anak yang dilahirkan.
And the second and third reasoning the second was many cases of divorce, and in those cases the father normally don't want anything to do with the child conditions, and the third reason was the child was born out of wedlock, so it was frowned upon. Therefore, the father figure also didn't want to be involved.
Usia 18 sampai 25 tahun merupakan masa menjadi jati diri seharusnya. Namun rentan terhadap tekanan emosional sehingga ketidakhadiran ayah dapat menimbulkan perasaan yang tidak berharga dan juga kritis identitas. Next.
Because of this, there are lots of surges in where the child grows up into adulthood, and they specifically has issues with emotional well-being because of the surrounding and the environment people where they don't have a father figure.
Ada 3 tujuan penelitian. Yang pertama adalah untuk mengetahui tingkat fatherless pada dewasa awal di Kecamatan Taluk Jambi Timur Karawang. Dan yang kedua adalah untuk mengetahui tingkat self-esteem pada dewasa awal di lokasi yang sama. Dan yang ketiga adalah menganalisis pengaruh kondisi fatherless terhadap tingkat self-esteem pada dewasa awal di Kecamatan Taluk Jambi Timur Karawang. Next. Untuk metode penelitian, kami menggunakan pendekatan lapangan dengan pendekatan kuantitatif deskriptif dengan pengumpulan data, yaitu pengisian angket dari 100 responden berusia 18 sampai 25 tahun di Kecamatan Taluk Jambi Timur Karawang. Untuk instrumen yang digunakan, kami menggunakan skala yang dikemukakan oleh Kakotsky dan Gorlow, sedangkan instrumen self-esteem kami menggunakan RSES. Sedangkan analisis yang kami gunakan menggunakan bantuan SPSS versi 27 untuk menguji pengaruh fatherless terhadap self-esteem pada dewasa awal di Kecamatan Teluk Jambi Timur Karawang. Next. Hasil penelitian sesuai dengan tujuan penelitian yang pertama adalah mengetahui tingkat fatherless, di mana ternyata mayoritas responden berada pada kategori tingkat fatherless sedang diikuti dengan kategori tinggi. Hal ini menunjukkan bahwa sebagian besar responden mengalami ketidakhadiran ayah atau fatherless pada tingkat yang signifikan. Next. Hasil penelitian yang kedua sesuai dengan tujuan penelitian yaitu tingkat self-esteem. Distribusi tingkat self-esteem menunjukkan bahwa 33% responden memiliki self-esteem sedang, sementara 26%-nya pada kategori rendah. hingga sangat rendah. Mulai dari 19% rendah, 12% sangat tinggi, dan 10% sangat rendah. Next. Terakhir, yaitu tentang analisis pengaruh self-esteem terhadap analisis pengaruh fatherless terhadap self-esteem, di mana hasilnya signifikan sehingga bisa disebutkan bahwa semakin tinggi tingkat self-fatherless yang dialami, maka semakin rendah tingkat self-esteem-nya. Hasil analisis regresi menunjukkan adanya pengaruh signifikan antara kondisi fatherless terhadap self-esteem pada dewasa awal. Next. Dapat disimpulkan 3 poin sesuai dengan tujuan penelitian. Yang pertama adalah mayoritas responden mengalami tingkat fatherless pada sedang dan tinggi. Yang kedua, mayoritas responden mengalami tingkat self-esteem sedang dan tinggi. Dan yang terakhir, terdapat pengaruh signifikan antara fatherless terhadap self-esteem. Untuk implikasinya, ada beberapa poin yang harus kami sampaikan. Yang pertama adalah pentingnya keterlibatan ayah dalam pembentukan harga diri anak. Dan yang kedua, perlunya intervensi sosial bagi individu yang mengalami kondisi fatherless. Dan yang ketiga, dukungan psikologis diperlukan untuk meningkatkan self-esteem pada dewasa awal. Untuk implikasi, ini sebenarnya kita sudah komunikasi dengan orang-orang, termasuk stakeholder yang ada di sana, karena keluhan dari pemerintahan sana itu butuh data awal juga untuk bisa menindaklanjuti. Dan ini menjadikan sebuah penelitian yang akhirnya nanti tidak hanya berhenti di sini saja, tapi juga ada tindak lanjut di mana kita bisa memberikan beberapa konsep intervensi yang bisa dilakukan di sana.
The initial research was done because the district asked for initial data on fatherlessness because there's resurgence of cases and therefore the research team hopes that this would be a start to the data and help them go through the hierarchy governmental system to then help these children in terms of psychological intervention and advancement.
Demikian yang dapat saya sampaikan, kurang lebihnya saya mohon maaf. Saya akhiri, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Maybe for the guest, would there be any questions? Yes.
Thank you so much for taking a very pertinent issue. And in my opinion, absence of any parent, whether father or mother, can cause, immense trouble in the life of children. So my one question, just my clarification, that fatherlessness can cause many other problems, including self-esteem. So you are addressing only self-esteem. Is there any precise reason behind it? Would you like to clarify? Thank you.
Oke, Ibu, jadi ditanyakan untuk adakah alasan khusus kenapa yang diangkat self-esteem? Karena kan fatherlessness banyak menghasilkan pengaruh-pengaruh buruk seperti itu.
Baik, karena memang di awal hasil kita wawancara data awal mungkin ya bahasanya, bahwa mereka itu yang seharusnya di usia mereka merdeka, apa yang mereka inginkan, yaitu dia bertanggung jawab dengan dirinya sendiri, itu menjadi kabur. Tidak ada rasa percaya diri, tidak ada rasa gambaran masa depan yang baik. Hal itu semuanya menjadikan sebenarnya ini keluhan sekretaris kecamatan tadi ya, sehingga minta bantuan untuk dilakukan pendalaman tentang ini.
The first initial reason was the early interview with the district secretary, and a further interview that resulted in there are some data on emerging adulthood in the district. He or she should have had more responsibility or more self-concept and self-esteem, or in those areas, but it becomes blur, whether or not they have a stance on themselves or they have a strong concept of themselves. All of those aspects becomes completely blur. So that's why the research team decided to bring up self-esteem.
It is just for suggestion. If it is ongoing study, my recommendation is to add some more, dimensions. So you will get wider picture. Thank you.
Jadi memang mungkin disarankan kalau misalkan ini masih berjalan dan masih ongoing, mungkin bisa dilihat alasan-alasan lain sehingga dapat konsep yang lebih besar seperti itu.
Baik, terima kasih Bapak.
Thank you. Maybe there's Ibu Fe.
Since there is a very good interpreter here, please allow me to use bahasa, ya Bu ya. Oke, kan tadi Ibu bilang dalam awal presentasi kenapa banyak angka perceraian di sana. Kenapa banyak anak yang fatherless di sana? Karena angka perceraian tinggi gitu. Maksud saya kenapa di dalam implikasinya tidak juga disinggung tentang preventionnya gitu loh. Misalnya karena ini kan continuing ya gitu ya. Jadi misalnya bagaimana mencegah terjadinya perceraian itu kan lebih lebih mendasar gitu ya daripada kita udah nampung hasilnya kayak gini terus ya udah akan terus seperti itu. Jadi misalnya mungkin bicara tentang marriage counseling or everything ya mungkin buat tentang persiapan perkawinan misalnya jangan sampai orang terlalu muda kawin gitu kan lebih maksudnya lebih early stages ya gitu daripada kita nampung riset aduh kayak BPJS nanti. Makasih.
So the initial question were in terms of all three main reasoning why the fatherlessness rate were so high. Why weren't there any prevention actions taken after the research team got the results? Because hence it's basically easier to prevent, like maybe marriage counseling to prevent just the early childhood marriage or maybe even prevent the divorce in itself.
Ya, betul Bunda. Jadi memang itu juga bagian dari poin 3 yang kami singkat hanya dengan butuh dukungan intervensi psikologi, bahasanya begitu. Namun sebenarnya juga termasuk dengan konseling keluarga, termasuk juga beberapa hal yang memang berkaitannya dengan intervensi psikologi. Baik, terima kasih.
So the main reasoning behind was the third implication that was stated from the research team is that further psychological intervention that was included in the plan to give preventions and also maybe awareness in terms of all the reasoning behind fatherlessness. And Ms. Verena added that in Surabaya, there's a program called Girl Empowerment. This program targets middle schoolers where they explain a lot about marriage, about health, and how to prevent it. And so to not just give understanding, but also to give a solution and to give skills on how to manage emotionals and relationship well-beings. And the money. Of course, okay. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Betty and Mrs. Moza for sharing this important research. This study reminds us that fatherlessness is not only a family matter, but also a social issue with long-lasting impacts on young people's psychological development. By examining its relationship with self-esteem among emerging adults, you have highlighted both the vulnerability and the resilience of this age group. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express our heartfelt gratitude to all of today's distinguished speakers, Professor Prakash Padakanaya, Mrs. Audrey Prameswari, Mrs. Betty, Mrs. Lebina Anna, and Professor Seth Cooper. From self-compassion, fatherlessness, and self-esteem to AI in psychology, cultural perspectives, and the global relevance of our discipline, each presentation has reminded us of psychology's vital role in serving humanity across different contexts. With that, we will now proceed to the signing of the MOUs and MOAs, an important milestone that formalizes our shared commitment to collaboration through the BRICS Plus Psychological Union. Please join us for this historic moment on the restaurant downstairs. Thank you.
Okay, give applause to our MC and our moderator today. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. And we are at the end of our mini conference. And after this, we'll have a signing MOU and MOA documents. Until now, we have 3 institutions that agreed to sign the documents, which is Brazilian Society of Psychology. Thank you, Dr. Maicon, for your kindness. And then also Dr. Sanjay Kumar for a National Academy of Psychology in India, and also Psychology Society of South Africa. And the others, there should be futures or possibility of collaboration. So what will we do is that every or each of this country will be placed in one table, one table for each country in our lunch floor, in the first floor. And then each of the participant, especially the dean, will come to your table. Yeah, and we already prepared the documents, if the documents want to sign. And there should be also discussion between the dean and the delegates, what should be done, what the possibility of features, possible collaboration between the universities and the country. So please feel free to discuss. We still have plenty of time during lunch. So usually food and beverage make